Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Making Your Mark podcast. I'm your host, Mark Bundang, and today, as usual, we have a very special guest. His name is Saaj Patel. Hi, Saaj.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, you?
Good. Same old, same
Good,
old.
good. Same old, same old. Awesome. I feel like this one is different from the other ones I've had. Usually, it's in the business setting or in like an academic setting where the guest kind of has their expertise. But this one, you're a mechanic by trade and an entrepreneur, right? So those are two different things combined together, and you have a wonderful story that I've learned. How I know you, Saj, I'm a customer, right? Like I had, this is important because like I know that many of my fellow West Island community members follow this group on Facebook,
hmm
and I saw you. And I was also open to seeing SP Mecano, the account that if you see it on online, your business, I saw it on the WIC community, and you caught me at a time when I was fed up of going to garages.
Most people.
Exactly. So that being said, there are a few other people out there who do this kind of stuff where they kind of go to the customer's place of residence or wherever they want their the work done on their cars. But what differentiated you, Saj, from the other ones that I've had experience with was you're on time. You don't like drag me around and then say like I'm late, I'm early, like, or don't show up, like things that you would think you could take for granted, but you can't,
No,
like
you
these
can't.
are
Especially
like,
nowadays, customer service is hard to find.
yeah,
Good customer
absolutely.
service, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other part that I would say is aside from like you being prompt and doing quality work as well, it was a chance for me to actually talk to you. You're very personable.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. It's one of those
I like
like
though. It works out for me.
Perfect, perfect. So, Saj, I wanted to give you the chance. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about your background and where you feel you made your mark?
Yeah. So I mean, when I believe I was 18, I decided I wanted to go to actually culinary school, and I was going to move to London to go to a school over there. Yeah. And then I spoke about it with my parents and my brother, and we just went through like pros and cons. And my brother, who's a big car fan, and my dad too is a big car guy, and they both told me like, "Oh, why don't you try auto mechanics first? Because going into culinary industry, you have to have good hookups to get into good restaurants to get good pay and all that stuff, right? So it's not an easy job; it's very difficult." So I decided, okay, whatever, I'll take their advice. It's my dad giving me advice, right? So obviously I'm going to take it. So I went to mechanic school, ended up actually enjoying it, and I started working in private garages. I worked in a dealership. I worked in like really tiny garages, like local garages. But yeah, when I was younger, like I didn't have much experience. Like I was making mistakes, just like anyone else, right? So it's a hard industry to get motivated right away because what you do in school and then when you go into the field, it feels very different.
So, actually, I do kind of want to dive in a little bit because for people like me, we don't know a lot about mechanics. You said mechanics school. Like, what's that experience like? And then versus going into the field?
So mechanic school was honestly probably the funnest school I've ever gone to because there's no real homework because I mean you can't really bring the cars home. It was, I met a lot of new people that ended up being friends for a long time and stuff like that. Like morning time we would do theory and then in the afternoon we would do like actual technical work and going in the shop and doing stuff. Just the only thing is that when you go into like the actual field of mechanics, it gets a little bit harder because not everything, they can't show you everything, right? And cars change on a year to year basis, right? So sometimes, a procedure on one car is not going to be the same as on a newer car, right? So you're kind of learning on the go like, as you go, obviously. But yeah, it wasn't easy transitioning. Like I said, I made my mistakes. One time I actually got injured pretty bad. I was doing something with suspension and a coil spring gave out and hit me in the face. Luckily, I was wearing my glasses. Otherwise, I probably would have been blind. But yeah, so I got really injured on that during that time. And even one of my managers actually came and pulled me aside like a week later and told me like, tried to convince me out of mechanics. I'm telling me that like, oh, maybe this is not for you, like he was looking out for me because I had got almost fatal injury, right? So I understood. But it honestly, it motivated me to learn more and do better, and like obviously be more safe about how I do my job. So after that, I ended up actually quitting that garage and I ended up going to work at a dealership. And so one of the problems is when you transition from school to an actual job in mechanics is that a lot of garages don't want to give newcomers, big jobs or jobs that will really test their skill and their knowledge, right? So they usually give you tires, they give you oil changes, simple stuff, right? So I felt like in my early years, I was not getting the knowledge and the experience that I wanted, right? So after I left that garage, I worked at a dealership. I worked at a Hyundai dealership in West Island. And that ended up being probably like a career changing experience for me because I learned so much from just just doing the work and also from my coworkers that work there. Tons of experience, and they taught me so many things that I can't even imagine where I would be if I didn't work there. Even like the experience where I had a fatal injury almost the first week or 2 weeks that my boss was there. He actually gave me a job because I had told him that story and gave me that same job and told me to face the fear and do it. So I ended up doing it and it got over my fear of it. And and then I ended up being able to do that type of job very easily, no problem. Like I never had any issues. But yeah, I found I learned most of my stuff at the dealer. Like I said, they started letting me do engines and transmissions and stuff like that. So it really got me like hands on with the cars. So yeah, pretty much.
Is that something usual, like that you would get at a dealership, that kind of training or that kind of experience, or do you have to really go for it and ask for it specifically?
Like bigger jobs, you mean?
Yeah.
It depends. Like when I first got hired, like I didn't have much experience because I worked at two other garages. One of them was Canadian Tire, and the other one was another garage in NDG. Mostly they did was like tires, oil change, service stuff, right? So like I would get the occasional job, but at the time I was still new to mechanics. When I started doing it, like if they gave me a job, if I made a mistake or I did it the wrong way, it's like okay, you don't get another job until this time you're back into doing service. So it was a very short leash when it came to, and I understand if you make a mistake, it costs them money, right? It's money out of their pocket. So I can totally understand that. But at the same time, you have to also let people learn, right? Because some people don't learn just by reading a book. Some people need to do it and actually learn it, right? But yeah, it was a little bit difficult. But like I said, when I worked at the dealership, that's what changed my whole career path, I find.
And that's interesting too, because like there are so many different makes of cars and different models, and like, uh, and you just said that you got a whole growth from just a Hyundai dealership,
Yeah.
right? So that's just Hyundais you're working on. But even within the Hyundai experience or field, there was a lot you're saying that you had to
Yeah.
learn.
There was a lot. But I mean, like, look, with every car, like some procedures are relatively the same, but some procedures are different, right? So like to change, let's say a ball joint or a water pump on one car to change it on another car might be completely different, but it's relatively the same. It's just, some of the things you have to take off might be different, or the way you access that part might be different. Uh, but yeah, pretty much.
What's your favorite thing to work on?
Like car, or you mean favorite job?
There's a difference.
Yeah,
Okay.
like different type of job, like whether it's brakes, whether it's suspension. I mean, favorite car for me to work on is probably a Hyundai because I know them so well now after I worked at the dealer for about 6 years, right? So I really got used to those. Anything Japanese or Korean, it's pretty simple to be. But
Why not
favorite,
American though? Why not American? Is it because of you don't have that much experience, or is it because they
no, it's not
were
that.
built
Like
different?
I still work on American cars and I work on some European cars too. Just American cars, I find some of them are easy to work on, but some of them are a bit more of a pain. They don't make them all. Not all cars are easy. There's some Japanese cars that are hard to work on too, right? Like you get some Nissans that are a big pain to work on. So you got to pick and choose what which ones you think are easy. Yeah, it's American cars are
What makes them painful though? Like
like
what aspect of it?
American cars.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Just sometimes it's just the way the car is actually made. So like access to a certain part is just like, it's like you have to take off 10 different things just to get access to it, stuff like that. Like it just makes the job longer, or sometimes, there's a bolt in a really ridiculous place that, you have to fit your hand, you have to have the dexterity to actually like undo that bolt. So yeah, but you find that on any brand. You can find that on any brand. It depends on the job. Like I said, it depends on the car. It changes every single time.
Okay. And your favorite type of job?
Favorite type of job? Honestly, anything suspension I find fun because that's something that I really got into when I was working in NDG. I had a guy who actually he used to do all the alignments and all the modifications for some of the cars that go to the car shows in Montreal. I forget what it's called. That go to the car shows in Montreal. So he was a big suspension guy. So he taught me a lot about doing suspension, doing alignments, and how the angles affect the tire wear and affect how the car drives and all that stuff. But probably the I would say close second would be brakes just because it's simple and it's the most profitable.
Okay, okay.
Brakes and suspension is my favorite, to be honest.
Okay, okay. You could how much of your we'll get into when you got into your business, but just how much of your business is actually brakes and suspension?
Honestly, it's very mixed. Like I get a lot of brakes, that's for sure. Brakes, oil changes, suspension jobs, but I also get certain diagnostic jobs, no start complaints. So this person car doesn't start, whether it's a starter, an alternator, or a battery. Uh, I've gotten people who want me to take off their bumpers and install new OEM, not OEM, aftermarket headlights and stuff like that. So like the jobs really range. Like they're very different sometimes. Like I've had a guy come to me with a 1928 Ford to do an oil change. Yeah, I have a picture of it on my Instagram actually, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, so it really changes all the time. Like you never know what's coming, which is also fun because sometimes when you work in the garage and they limit you to one thing. It's kind of like okay, like I know I'm doing oil changes and I know I'm doing tires. Whereas now it's like, I don't know what's coming. I could get a job that I have no clue how to do and I've never done before. And then I have to look into it, find the procedures, figure out how to do it, find out what tools I need, so and so. So it's always a surprise.
Is that's kind of that's interesting. I guess for some people their comfort zone is repeat, repeat, repeat the same, and they don't like the change, but for you it's different, I think.
Yeah. So like I used to be like that where I used to just like being in like a comfortable setting where I would just get the same jobs and I'd be like, okay, I know how to do this, like easy peasy, let's do it. But after a while, you start to feel like, you're not fulfilling yourself like in your craft or in your field, right? You want to learn more because you see other people doing more and then you're like, okay, you feel bad that like, okay, like I want to be able to do that too. So like when I started at the dealership, I had never taken out an engine out of a car unless it was at school, during my schooling. So when they allowed me to do that, like that was like one of my high points of working there. I loved doing that. And then I was asking for more because I wanted to get better at it and keep doing it and do it faster and faster. So yeah, now I enjoy the mystery, we could say, but sometimes those can also come back to bite you because sometimes you get jobs that you wish you didn't take. So it's happened to me. It's happened to me too as well. So um, yeah, it's a surprise.
The transition away from working for someone else and then working for yourself now, can you describe a little bit of how that went?
So like it was a very weird process the way it went for me. Like I was working at the dealer and I was running my business on the side. So I was kind of doing both. So I was running my business on the weekends and then I was doing my full-time job at the dealership during the weekdays, right? So during the week I was working for someone else and during the weekend I was working for myself. So as soon as I fully quit my job at the dealer and I went full time in my business. It's a little scary because you don't know what's coming, right? And you don't know if money's going to come in. You don't know if jobs are going to come in and stuff like that. So it was always a stress. But I mean, if you're going to do this, you have to have confidence in yourself. You have to go and do it. And if you're not getting customers, then the only thing you can do is go get more customers, right? So yeah, the one thing that I find was the biggest difference for me was my sleep is because yeah, so like when I was working at the dealer, like I live far from where I used to work, so it was like a 45-minute drive every morning without traffic. So I was waking up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to get ready, and then leave at like 6:45 to get there for 7:30, and then now working for myself, I wake up at maybe 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, depending on the time, depending on the day. I mean, and yeah, it's just I get way more sleep. I'm refreshed when I go to my jobs. Like my jobs start at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I don't feel tired. Like when you wake up in the morning early for work, you're like, oh my god, you dread it, right? And now it's like I wake up, I'm able to do my morning routine, have breakfast like peacefully. Like I watch a little bit of television. Then I go to work. I'm fully refreshed, and I feel like I get the most productivity out of myself when I'm like that. When I'm getting the most amount of sleep. So sleep is definitely important. That's
Why did you, what was the tipping point? Why would you go from, say, someone who's paying you, like you don't have to go hunt for jobs, to
yeah.
now you do, why would you do that?
One, I think it's a genetic thing too, because like I think my dad was the same way. So when I was working for someone else, it kind of felt like I don't want to say slave, but like it kind of felt like I was trapped, you know, where I was stuck working 5 days a week to enjoy those 2 days on the weekend, which you're already too tired to really enjoy. And then, you have to kind of wait for your 2 week vacation or 3 week vacation for the whole year, whereas now it's like, okay, if I need a day off because, I'm sick or whatever the case is, and, like I don't have to ask anyone for permission, I just take my day if I need it. If it's something urgent with my daughter or my wife or whatever, I don't have to tell anyone. I just do my thing, so that is one thing that I really love about being my own boss, is that I don't have to report to anyone else. So it was really a feeling of being trapped, and that's one of the things that made me switch, because it was also affecting my mood. So I was getting very frustrated with people, and I'm sure people who worked with me probably know that, because I was not very nice all the
Mm.
time, not like I am now, to be honest. No, I was not a very good coworker at some points, but yeah, it made me feel trapped, and I couldn't do it anymore. And like I took the winter off in 2020, and that's what really triggered me. In 2020, I took the winter off because of COVID, and having the winter off, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I can stay home and relax and let my body heal, because it's a physical job, right? And you're doing tires, you're doing brakes, suspension, whatever. You're ruining your wrists, you're ruining your knees, your ankles, and everything, right? So getting that time off really like kind of pushed me in a direction where I was like, okay, I want to be able to, have time throughout the whole year that I can take a day off if I need to, or, take a weekend off, or whatever the situation is. So that's really what drove me to move towards self-employment.
It's so it's really, I guess, a more of a control over your time, your destiny a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess when I don't feel in control, then that's when I get like anxiety, and I stress out, like, and also that like working for yourself, you make more money. If you do it properly, you make more money. So
Okay.
definitely financial reasons too also played a part. Obviously nowadays everything is so expensive, groceries, gas, everything. So I I had to find a way to start making more money and, provide for my family as well, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the hours, right? So it's, I don't know, are you working more than you did when you were working for someone else?
So during the spring, summer, and fall, that's like the busiest seasons, right? So during those times, I would say I'm probably working relatively the same or a little bit less, because it's busy season during those times. But I get a lot more time off during the winter. During the winter, I'm home more. I work maybe 4 hour days. There's some weeks where, I don't work for 2 days in the week, and then I work 3 days straight. So it's very unpredictable. But during the wintertime, I get a lot of rest compared to when I used to work at the dealer or at other garages. Yeah, time wise, hours wise, I'm definitely doing less hours. Definitely doing less hours, but it's more profitable. So it makes sense for me.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a motivator, right? So time and money are more in your favor in this situation compared to.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously cons, like that's the thing, is if you're talking physical work of doing mechanics, yes, I work less. But then when I come home, I have to do invoices, I have to do receipts, because I do everything myself, right? Like my wife helps me as well. So I do the accounting and all that stuff. So I have to, file everything properly and deal with the Entreprise Quebec and all that stuff, and deal with the taxes and all that stuff. So I'm doing all that stuff by myself. So when I get home, I'm still technically working because I'm on my laptop for another couple hours. So I technically work more, but in physical labor, definitely less.
Okay. Okay. How is the office part of your business now? I mean, because there's the labor part of your business,
Mhm.
and then there's the administrative side that you have to do. What was the learning like on that part of the business?
Yeah. So the learning part of that was not too hard. Like I said, Computers is was pretty easy for me. I've always been into computers, and I've done college courses on Pages and Excel and all that stuff. So doing the accounting is relatively easy for me, like learning it. Just doing the work is time consuming. But yeah, it wasn't too hard. Just a couple of learning curves, when it comes to like the taxes and all that stuff and dealing with, like how I file all my stuff, more organization is what I had to like really learn. That's the main thing I learned, I find. And it helped me because now I'm more organized in my business. I'm more organized in my personal life. So it definitely helped, but it was a little bit of a learning curve, but it wasn't that bad.
Okay, okay. What's the biggest surprise about owning your own business?
Uh, Biggest surprise um, was I don't know. It's hard to say. There's so many surprises in this in like self-employment. I mean, just like I said, not knowing what's gonna come is always a surprise. Like I've had winter months where where I was stressed out because like I'm like, oh my god, I don't have that many jobs. Um, so those months, kind of took me for surprise because I was so used to getting paid all the time, right? Through an employer, right? So when like a week would come where I had no jobs, I turned, like, you can ask my wife, I turned into a stress ball. Like I was stressed out, I wasn't talking to anyone, I was freaking out. And then jobs start coming in, and then I realized I'm like, okay, I have to just be patient and let things happen as they happen. And then that's how you kind of learn from that. So that was a surprise, but also the amount of like time I spend on my laptop now was surprising to me because I did not think I would be on the laptop for 4 or 5 hours a night. So sometimes I'm answering clients at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you did you was this actually I do have an experience with that I wanted to share with you because one of my previous guests was what we call an ERP contractor. So he SAP or like those enterprise resource planning softwares. And when he first contracted, the biggest lesson he learned was don't spend your money. Don't spend all of it. Is that something you already knew walking in, or did you have to learn that after the
So
fact?
I did learn that the hard way because when I first started, I was like, oh wow, I'm making more money and I'm working less hours. So I was spending more, I was enjoying myself. Now me and my wife, we've come to the agreement that we have to be smart about it. And, now that I'm pretty much in my full second year of business now. So this year is the year where, I take what I learned from year one and now I change what I need to change. And that applies to the finances too, so just making sure that I don't spend the money and, like I keep it because like it's a business account, right? So I want to keep that fun growing, and then, yeah, that was a little bit of a learning process as well.
Okay, so you did touch upon like this is your second year. So what are some of the things that or lessons you've taken from year one that you want to apply in year two?
Yeah, so lessons I would apply from year one to year two is don't stress out when jobs are not coming in. When people contact you, like some people don't know how to have a conversation. They get very frustrated or they get angry. I had a customer once that I went to go check his car, and it was a neighbor of mine. I went to go check his car for free. Just just out of the goodness of my heart, I just decided, okay, if you live right down the street, you're a neighbor, I'll come check it out, no problem. I went to go check it out, and anyway, something had happened that he messed up the car, and then he got mad at me and started giving me, oh my god, this guy started ranting at me and started insulting me and all this stuff. So sometimes you're going to get clients that are like that. So in those cases, like I've now learned that, okay, it's best to be professional, don't say anything back, just let them air out whatever they want to air out, and you just agree with them and you try and make the situation as best as you can, because you argue with them and then it just gets worse, and it also puts a bad stain on your reputation too, because nowadays people go and complain on Facebook, complain on Google reviews, so you have to be careful of what you say. But yeah, there's a lot of lessons that I learned from year one to year two. But yeah, I would say those two are the two main things: was dealing with people, how to deal with people, and also just not stressing out when things are not how you expect them to go. Even when it comes to like doing a job, like I've had a job recently where something broke on the car, because the car's so old and the part was completely discontinued in North America. Like you can't get it. So I was like, oh my God, like how am I going to fix this part? And I was stressed for about a few days, and then I figured out a solution, got it done, car works fine, customer's happy. So like there's always a solution to every problem. You just have to find a way to get there, you know? So those are the main things I would say.
Cool, cool. I like that last part because there's this one thing that I saw on Instagram. It was a little picture of a post-it note, and it said, "You're not failing. You're just in a part where most people quit."
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much what it is, you know? And like when I was younger, I used to be one of those people that used to quit during that part, you know? Like I would do jobs and like I would stress out because I'd be like, okay, like I can't get this bolt out, or, you know, this is impossible or whatever. And then I would freak out and I'd, you know, look for help, you know? Now I've come to realize like, okay, like do it, try it. And if you have trouble, start, honestly, like a lot of people, they give mechanics like heck about, you know, going on YouTube and watching videos. But honestly, YouTube, I use my shop manual as well. There's so many resources out there for you to find different ways to do different things, different jobs, and ways to access that bolt or whatever you're stuck on, you know? So there's always a way, there's always a solution that you can find, you know? And it's always good to ask for help too, you know? Like I have so many mechanics that, you know, I've friends with or that have mentored me or, you know, like taught me so much that, you know, I rely on. I still to this day will text them or call them and ask them like, hey, by the way, like, you know, I have this car and I don't know, I'm stuck, you know, and they'll give me advice, you know? So it's always a learning curve. You just have to find your solution. That's pretty much it.
How would you feel if you had to go back to working for someone else? Is there ever a circumstance where you would?
No, no, there's no chance.
No.
Now, like, again, like circumstances can change, right? So, like, if I'm in a situation where I have no other option, of course, yes, I will do it. But at this point, I'm not anywhere near any of those circumstances. So, like, I could never imagine myself, like, I would never get tired of doing this and be like, oh, no, I just want to go work for someone and not have the hassle of this. Like, even like the hassle stuff that I have to deal with, like accounting and all that stuff is fun for me because, you know, like you're doing your accounting, you're seeing all the money that comes in, you're seeing what you're spending on, you're seeing all these different aspects about your business, you know, and it's like you get the feeling of like, you know, I built this, you know, so
Mm.
it's a fulfilling feeling that, you know, even just doing accounting, like when I get estimates, you know, or I have to make invoices, like I kind of get a little bit excited doing it because it's just a fun thing to do because, you know, it's not like for the last 10, 15 years when I've been doing mechanics, I was always just going to work, do the job, go home. You know, now it's like I go home. Now I actually get to see, okay, like what am I charging for this guy? Okay, what's the profit on this? Or okay, what discounts can I give this customer or what promotions can I make? You know, there's so many different aspects to advertising and all that stuff. So it's so much fun. I love making banners for like the website and making promotional like, you know, like little flyers and stuff like that. I just recently made a promotional flyer for a dental clinic in Vaudreuil that's owned by my cousin. So a lot of the people there, they've seen me do some work there. So they asked me to put up a flyer for tire changes. So I put it out there. So I gave them a special discount because my cousin's clinic. So stuff like that. Yeah, like I enjoy it. So like I don't think I could ever go back to being an employee again, just because also I see the difference of how I treat myself based off how an employer treats me, you know? So
Do you want to go into that a little bit?
yeah, of course. I mean, look, like I would say like when it comes to an employer, you know, like in any business, no matter what, they care about their pocket. That's what business is, right? They care about the money that you're making them and that's coming in and the profit they're making, right? So, you know, when you have certain issues, you know, sometimes you'll get great bosses that will be able to that will be appreciative of your circumstances or whatever your situation is. But sometimes you don't get the best boss, right? So some bosses, you know, will give you problems for taking days off or if you're sick or whatever, you know? Whereas, you know, now it's like, okay, like I know how I feel. If I feel like, okay, like I need some rest, I'm burning out or I'm feeling sick or whatever, I respect myself, I respect my body and what my body's telling me that I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take this day off and I let myself rest, you know? And like before, you know, I used to feel guilty for taking a day off when I was working for someone, you know, because they would make me feel guilty about it. So like I would always feel like I was doing something wrong. So like I would be sitting at home, but I'd be like, you know, like I feel like I should be at work, you know, like that weird
Yeah.
feeling in you that you feel like you should be working, you know? Whereas now it's like I know that like I don't have to report to someone. So like if I'm staying home, it's because I authorized it. It doesn't change anything, you know? So yeah.
So the ability to respect your, I guess, the way you're feeling, the way for your own health, for your own
Yeah, and my personal
well-being.
schedule, you know, like, you know, I have a daughter, I have my wife, so like, you know, things come up, you know, like anyone else. So There's times where, like I need to move an appointment around, like let's say I'm working at a garage, and something comes up with my wife and I tell them, okay, I got to leave. Like, I have to go pick up my daughter or whatever. They're going to give me problems about that for leaving, especially if it's during a busy season. It's happened to me before. I've had to pick up my daughter and I've had to leave early and I've gotten into arguments. Whereas now it's like, okay, like if my wife can't pick up my daughter and I have to go pick up my daughter, I can just call my client, tell them like, listen, this is the situation. I'll move your appointment and I'll give you a discount for the inconvenience or whatever the situation is. And that way then I can clear my schedule to do what I have to do for my daughter or my wife or whatever the situation is.
Okay. Okay. Oh, good. Good. I like that you can build your own flexibility into your profession, into what you do as well. What about the fact that does the economy play a factor in your business?
Like how expensive everything is now, you mean?
Yeah, it could be, or like when people have less money because a recession is.
Yeah, yeah. Like, look, I have some clients who are willing to spend whatever they have to on their car to keep it in tip-top shape, and I have other clients who just want to do the bare minimum and try and just get by. Which you have to respect based off their budget and their situation, right? Not everyone's situation in life is the same, right? So I always try to make it as affordable as possible for clients. I offer payment plans. I let people, I'll give discounts to people. Like I have some customers who are single moms, and I feel for them. It's definitely not easy, especially if you're paying for gas, you're paying for your mortgage or your rent, and you're paying for a car. And then on top of that, then you find out, oh, okay, now I need to change all my brakes. It's going to cost me $1,000, right? So I always try to make things affordable for people, try and help people out. But yeah, I think it does play a part. I had some points where like towards Christmas time, like holiday time is usually the worst time because holiday time, no one wants to do anything on their car because they're saving money for Christmas gifts or whatever. So during those times, that's when it gets really, really like slow because people don't want to put money in their car because they want to save it, right? So, and it's understandable. Me too. I don't want to spend money on other things. I want to get gifts for my daughter and stuff like that, and for my wife. So it definitely does play a part. But yeah, there's always ways to work around it. You try to maximize your summer, spring, and fall so that in the wintertime, you can kind of relax. And even if things do get really slow, you're still okay, you still have a reservoir type of thing.
Okay. Okay. What about your brand? So, what is the brand? Do you call it SP Mecano or is it Saj?
No, no, it's SP Mecano. Honestly, it's funny. It's my best friend when I was coming up with the business. He's a very like entrepreneur type of person and very like artistic, and he thinks differently than other people. So I asked him to try and come up with a name for me, help me, and a logo actually. And he came up with a name for me, and like I think it was like maybe like the third one that he gave me, and I was like, oh, brilliant, that's amazing, because obviously here in Quebec we have to have it in French as well, right? So SP is just initials of my name, and then Mecano is like a French slang for mechanic, and then mobile is the same in French, mobile. So it worked out perfectly. So that's pretty much where I got that name from. It was actually my best friend that actually helped me figure that out. And it kind of
Uh,
rolls off your tongue a little bit, so I kind of liked it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I noticed too
Yeah,
when I first read it. It's like, hey, that's language neutral, man.
yeah.
That's
It's not
awesome.
it's not like a general. It's not like a common garage name. Like most garages are like Mécanique Martin or Mécanique something like that. This is like a very like slang type of name a little bit. So I think it kind of differentiates from other garages a little bit.
And what do you want your brand to be known for the most?
So like the main things that I try to base myself off of is being honest, because in our profession, we are known as not honest people, apparently, which I hear all the time. And I've experienced it firsthand. I've worked in garages where I've seen people get ripped off and I have to go do that job, but I don't have any say in it. I'm just doing the job. I don't sell the job. So I've seen that, and that's one of the reasons why I actually quit one of my jobs was, the honesty part of it. And then transparency, like with pricing, like a lot of people ask me like, oh, what do you charge per hour? What do you charge per hour? And I always tell them like, no, I don't charge per hour. I charge per job. So based off the degree of difficulty of the job, that's what I charge. So whether that job, I tell you it takes 2 hours, if it takes me 5 hours, I'm still not going to charge you any extra. It's always going to be the same price. So I think honesty and transparency is one of the main things, and good customer service, because that goes a long way.
Well, I certainly saw the last one you mentioned, the last experience I had with you, but the other two are you're as a mechanic, I think you alluded to it. It's you're guilty until proven innocent on this
Pretty
one.
much, yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, that's why, like in my system, how I do it, like if someone tells me like, oh, I think my brakes are shot, I go to their house. When I in my system, like I provide inspection sheets and all that stuff. So in the inspection sheet, I provide pictures, I provide videos. So just yesterday, I had a car where I had to check front brakes, and I saw the pads were finished. So I took pictures of the pads. Then I also took a video of me trying to compress the caliper back in to see if the caliper was seized or not. So they could see me physically doing it in the inspection sheets. So they know that, okay, this guy's not just telling me, oh, you need to replace this. He's actually showing me that, okay, like this is why it's no good. And this photo proves that, or this video proves that, So and honestly, I've gotten a lot of feedback on that, like the transparency in what I do on their car and what I find. People seem to love it because it seems a common experience is going to the garage for an oil change or a tire change and then finding out they need $2,000 or $1,500 worth of repairs, and they don't tell you why. They just tell you, "Yep, this is no good. This is no good. This is no good." So I don't want to run my business like that. I want people to be able to trust me and to be able to know what's being fixed and why it's fixed.
Do you get some hate from your some people in your industry for that?
Not really that much. I have recently, but I honestly I try not to focus my energy on that because it's not worth it. Like people can say whatever they want to say. They can comment whatever they want to comment or put reactions on Facebook or whatever. I don't really care because in the end, like my business is working for me. So I'm doing what I need to do and my customers are happy. So that's the main thing.
You must have some thick skin, though. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard. Like it does bother me, if I see someone say something bad or whatever. Honestly, I mean, if you go based off my Google reviews, like I haven't really had any bad experiences so far, God forbid. So I haven't had any bad experiences, but I do have some other competitors who are trying to, throw shade on my name type of thing. Why? I don't know. I don't know if I did something to these people or I don't know what it is there. It's probably just because, they see me advertising and it's competition. But, like when I see other people post on Facebook about garages or that they're a mobile mechanic or they do mechanics or whatever, I always try to go and like that post and, or, react to that post, because there's more than enough cars for everyone to get business. Like, it, you know, it's not like we're in a market where there's no cars around and we need to desperately find customers, there's more than enough cars to be fixed to go to other mobile mechanics, other garages. And like the way I see it is if I do a job, if someone calls me to do a job and let's say like, like I don't have time to do that job, I'd like to have a reference to give to someone else. If someone else can make that money, great. And build that person's business. So I've seen quite a few really reputable mobile mechanics and garages that post on Facebook in the same pages of me. And even if I'm advertising, I'll like their comment and everything, just you got to support other people too. It's not an easy industry to get into, and if you have other people trying to drag you down, it makes it a lot harder. So I always try and support other people too.
good. I have three last questions for you
Yeah.
before we close this up. One is, what's your vision for SP Mecano?
My vision would be I mean, right now I live in a condo, so it's a little hard, but in the coming years, I plan to get a house. So I want to have a truck trailer, start doing install and balance tires. So right now I only do mounted tires because I don't have a trailer and I don't have the machines and everything, but I'd also like to have teams, so like I mean, this is probably further into the future, but have, maybe 3 different trucks with set teams that go in certain areas to go do the repairs on a daily basis. And then, at that time, then I'm going to kind of step back a little bit and let them do it and train them. And, I'll go with them, make sure that they're doing everything properly in the same like standard that I like, but I would like to have teams that I could send to different locations. So one team is repairing cars in, Montreal, and the other one is in Vaudreuil-Dorion, the other one is in Saint Lazare, something like that, so that that you can maximize profits that way too, and also it also expands your schedule too, right? If you have multiple people in different teams going in different locations, you can have 3 different jobs being done all at the same time, right? So that's pretty much my goal, I would say.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I have to follow you. I would invite you to, in a few years from now, to maybe have a follow-up episode on this
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, 100%, 100%. We'll definitely do that.
Thank you. The second to last question is the tradition that we have on this podcast is we ask the guest if they have any overarching advice based on the experiences that they shared in this episode?
Yeah. So overarching advice is I would say if you're good at something and you do it well and you're passionate about it and you like it and you want to make it into a business, do it. Because if you have the confidence in yourself and you're confident in what you do, you can definitely make a business out of it, and you can't let other people bring you down. I had so many people who told me like, "Oh, like, are you sure you want to start your own business? Like, you're not going to have that stability and blah, blah, blah." And, if I listened to them, probably still be going to work, every day, going to a regular 9 to 5 job, so always just believe in yourself. Just make sure you're doing it logically. Obviously, you don't want to just, quit your job and go and start a business just to start a business. You have to have a plan. You have to have, like the at least the first year or two kind of set up as to how it's going to run. So I would say just belief and confidence. That's the main thing.
Okay. Very good advice. Very good advice. And the last one is, if someone watches this episode and is compelled by your story or by the insight that you just shared, how can they reach you?
I mean, you can go to my website. You can go to my Facebook page. You can find me on Facebook personally. Anyone can contact me. I mean, you'll see my info everywhere. Usually posting quite often there, but like I have a couple of friends who are, people that I worked with that are younger mechanics, starting in the business, and they always come ask me for help and ask me to, like give them advice or something like that. And it still feels weird to me because, like I remember when I was in that position, and I still feel like sometimes I'm still in that position, that I'm still new, but I'm not. It's been 10, 15 years. So yeah, I always try to give my advice to anyone who needs it. I'm never like hiding secrets or anything like that. If someone else can also be successful, then why not?
This has been a wonderful experience.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. I enjoyed it. It's the first podcast I've been on, so this is definitely a pretty cool experience.
Great, great. I mean, if it's any consolation, I think you're a natural.
Yeah, I hope so.
Definitely.
I hope so. I'm gonna rewatch it, and then I'll make that decision.
Okay. Well, at least you faked it till you made it, so it's
That's
good.
it. Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
So what I will close with, Saj, is it was a wonderful conversation. I'm privileged to have gotten to know you a little bit better through this process. As good as your business is, I think what really shines is the human side of you. The genuine like care for the well-being of your customer or neighbor, even if they're not paying. Like it really shines.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt that you'll reach your vision if you keep pushing through.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's hope for that.
Well, you better, because I want to invite you in several seasons from
That's
now
it.
as a
Exactly.
follow-up story.
Keep this as motivation.
So with that being said, what I'd like to say to the audience, have a good one watching this one, and we'll see you on the next one too. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Ciao.
Hey, thank you very much. If you made it this far to the end of the podcast, I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. We're just starting out, so it would help if I could just ask one more thing of you. Please subscribe to this channel and share the podcast, share the episode on any platform you can. It would mean a lot to me, and it would help us a lot. Thank you.